Hello, everybody. Welcome to my channel. My name is Margaret Pinard, and you're on BookTube. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Very exciting day today. Very nervous. So I made myself a very strong cup of tea. I switched from the PG tips to the Irish breakfast because we're getting serious, everybody. I've put together an original tag for the May of the Month readathon. So we're going to hop in and start talking about those prompts and have a little fun today discussing those things and see who all is participating. Shannon was here to say hi. Anita is here to say hi. Hey, everybody. And if you're new to my channel, welcome too. Like I said, a little bit more nervous than usual. So this readathon has 5 prompts, which you will see on the Storygraph Challenge page. As part of the readathon, to make it interesting, I've written out prompts on the Storygraph Challenge that booktuber celebrities have very patiently granted me the permission to do. I asked them for their ideas on sort of their specialty of reading. And so that's where you will find them. I'll pop that in a chat in a second. And so I've made 5 questions about each of these themed prompts, and that's how we're proceeding. They are, hello, hello. Hey, Gemma, I loved your video this morning. Overcommitment for the win. See, that's exactly where I am. Okay, so our first prompt is going to be war. So it's a little different, but I'm mixing this up for the video. War. This was contributed by Brian of Bookish, and the prompt is name. Okay. The prompt is you are sent back in time to the May of the Moderns time, 1901 to 1945. You can tell one person one fact to prevent loss of life. Who, when, and what? Okay, so I'm very bad at choosing these sorts of things, especially because time travel and history make my brain want to explode. But after many possibilities cycled through my head, I just picked one. And I definitely want people to educate me on why this might not be the best answer. But I'll stick my flag in the sand. This is my answer for the time being. I think the international community is really where we fell down and couldn't work out our differences. And so I think having the Great War superseded by another war, maybe one was inevitable because it broke through a lot of ideas and broke up a lot of patterns, shall we say. But the second one was definitely not. So I would have gone to 1919, Washington, D.C., and I would have given Henry Cabot Lodge a stern talking to because he was the Mitch McConnell of his day attacking the president's League of Nations bill for the Treaty of Versailles, which never got approved. And so there was no leader post-World War I. And so there was no combined action to prevent World War II. So that would be my choice. Controversial, I know, and I'm definitely open to commentary on that choice. Okay. See, this is just going to invite all the controversy. Hey, Verna, welcome. I'm interspersing these with like, comment, subscribe. So don't forget to hit the like button. And if you're new here, subscribe to the channel. Okay. Second prompt is sex. And this came from Francesca of Persephone Books. So her prompt is changing attitude towards sex. Yes. My prompt for this tag is an adaptation of Kiss, Marry, Kill, because we don't unalive people on the internet. That is not nice. It's Kiss, Marry, Hire. And if you've read the backstory for this readathon, I love Victober and I wanted to continue the love with another readathon. So that's why I continued from 1901 on. And then we have today. So I am setting up 3 fictional characters. One is from Victorian times, one is from the modern times, and one is contemporary or after, right? And kiss, marry, or hire. So pick three characters, or you can pick the three that I have chosen and make it easy on yourself. Which did I pick? I changed this so many times. Okay, so Jane Eyre, Mrs. Moore, and Owen Townsend. So Jane Eyre, obviously a Victorian heroine. Mrs. Moore is from A Passage to India, and she's a secondary character. And Owen Townsend from Out Front the Following Sea. If you don't know it, this is a book that came out last year, and I loved it. It's by a fellow historical fiction author, Leah Angstman. So you'll see why I included this one. So yeah, so three fictional characters from those three eras, and then choose kiss, marry, or hire. So for me, I would be Jane, let's see, kiss, marry, hire. I would be hiring Jane Eyre because I think she can do a great job and be a happy person in whatever her work is because she's inner satisfied. That is not a correct sentence. She's internally satisfied with her life. So she would be a great person to do work for me. Maybe she'd be a PA, who knows? Mrs. Moore, I would say marry because she seems to know things about the world and understand things about the world intuitively that would be really useful in a day-to-day relationship, sort of a sounding board. And then Owen Townsend from Out Front the Following Sea, obviously the kiss because he is this dashing pirate dude in the 17th century Connecticut. So what's not to love? So there we go. Those are hard, but those are my choices. Again, commentary welcome. Oh, Melissa is here. Hello, Melissa of Fully Booked. Barrett is here. Hey, you. Oh, the book came today. Not the photo, the digital photo. Awesome. Very cool. So Barrett and I are doing one of the buddy reads for May of the Moderns. So the book came. I don't have an answer for the first one, but I like yours. All right. Turned in the deliverable, have the call with him in 55 minutes. I'll let you know after. Oh, okay. So we're getting an update. Shannon's doing it with my character. She says, kiss Jane Eyre, marry Mrs. Moore, and hire Owen Townsend because she doesn't know who that is. Okay, well, you should read the book. It's a good one. I think you'd like it. Okay, so kiss, marry, hire. So that's our sex prompt, and we can proceed from there. Thank you, Fran, from Persephone Books, for contributing the original question about changing sexual attitudes, because that is a very big piece of modern books in the first half of the 20th century. The next one we have is a Black classic. This was given to us by Bree of Locked Booktition, and I have something to share for this one. So let me pop this down and share the right Chrome tab. Okay, so Bree's prompt was to read a book that deals with race and class issues that are still relevant today. And my prompt for this tag is to name 3 events in history that you didn't know about until you were a grown-ass adult, but should have. So this spoke to me. This is a post from fellow author and Pacific Northwest personality, Tara Austin Weaver, and T_Austin. She's listing the dates of all these riots, rebellions, uprisings, revolutions that happened on MLK Day to bear witness to the fact that we don't learn about them growing up, but that we should. So just take a moment to check that out. Maybe check her channel on Instagram out because she's great. But yes, 3 examples of things that you didn't learn about growing up, but you should have. So for me, I have, I hope that shared. Did anyone see that? Yeah, and Melissa says just 3. I could name far too many. Barrett says for the last prompt, if Jane Eyre can get my email under control, she's my favorite. I like that. She seems very able, very capable. Am I wrong? Anita says a mystery theme for number 2. Kiss would be Ellery Queen. Mary would be Albert Campion, and she would hire Poirot. Albert Campion. That name sounds familiar, and I can't place it. So you'll have to tell me. And if they're all in the modern or if they're in the different eras. So for mine, I had Black Wall Street, and I can't pinpoint the person who told me about that, but it was in the last, I don't know, 6 years, probably like 5 or 6 years ago. Number 2, The Great Migration. So growing up, the Great Migration might have suggested to me, like in Ice Age, when all the animals were migrating to avoid the ice age that was melting or whatever. No. So The Great Migration is the name of an Isabel Wilkerson book. And so I can pinpoint when I learned about that. This is cast, but her earlier book is called The Warmth of Other Suns. And it's all about the movement of people in the US called the Great Migration, where after the Civil War, several decades after Reconstruction had failed, when the Jim Crow South was hurting the entire African American population, they migrated north and to the Midwest and to the West. And so she takes profiles of 3 people and their reasons why and their descendants and sort of follow on knock-on effects. And it's fantastic. So The Great Migration, Isabel Wilkerson, and Drained Pools. So this I can pinpoint from Heather McGee. So last year is when I saw this, and the book is The Sum of Us. And the, I guess, catchy, gimmicky thing that she used as part of the cover, as well as a device to use as a metaphor throughout the book, is that, let's see if I can summarize this succinctly. When we had lots of public goods, when our schools were being invested in, when we had pensions and healthcare, and people were being taxed at a progressive rate, and things looked great for the middle class, we had lots of swimming pools built because that was a public good. But when they were required to be desegregated so that African Americans could have access to those swimming pools, in many communities, instead of desegregating, the community in charge drained the pools, cemented it over, and said, well, if we have to share, we don't want it. We don't want anyone to have it. So that metaphor appears repeatedly in this book. And I didn't know about that. I did not know about that growing up. The whole post-war economic boom, yes, we learned about that. But the fact that between that and the civil rights movement, there was this grappling of economic forces and policymakers that stripped away all those rights because they saw that African Americans and other marginalized populations in the US were going to have access to them. They started dismantling it, and that has continued to the 70s, to the 80s, to the 90s, to today. So good information to have under your hat, wouldn't you think? Let's see, let me catch up here. Yes, high school history, missed a lot. Yes. Anita says, all modern, Albert Campion is the detective in Marjorie Allingham books. Okay, thank you. Brenda says, I need time to find the answers, but I'm certainly doing the tag in the following days. Oh, hooray. Yes, fascinating. History that you didn't know, right? That's another hashtag that I could run after, but again, I wouldn't be able to keep up. Shannon says, FYI, I changed from The Night of Cheerful Countenance on the sheet to Death on the Nile because I didn't want to read alone. Okay. All right. Sounds good. So what Shannon is referring to is the sign-up sheet, and I think I'll pop this in the chat right now. I'm going to rebrand it and say it's a buddy read sign-up sheet, but also a solo sign-up sheet, because really what you're doing is putting your name next to a book you're going to read so that I know that you're going to read it, and then I will know to look for it to include it on the playlist. So if you're not in there, it makes it harder for me to find you and include your contribution to the readathon. So even if you're not going to be buddy reading, if you could put your book and your name, that helps me do like the organization piece. So I popped that into the chat. And no worries, it's not even May yet, so you can definitely switch up your picks. I'm not even worried about it. Anita saying Death on the Nile is a good choice. And Gemma saying one for me would be Japanese Occupation of Korea. Can you guess which book educated me in that one? Yes, could it be the Pachinko along that we're reading together with like a dozen booktubers? Yes, yeah. I actually learned about that one through grad school because not that I had like any class in it, but I had a friend who volunteered with the Korea Institute because she's Korean American. And so that's how I learned about it. Personal education. Yeah, Barrett says I didn't know about it before reading The Sum of Us. It's crazy, right? Just watched the new movie Death on the Nile and really liked it. Okay, so the movie version, excellent. The book might have some surprises for you. Buddy read / solo sign up sheet. So in case anyone has yet to put their name down in there. I know you can do it solo, but where am I going to talk about it? I don't include book things on my channel at this time. True, but I heard that in your newsletter, you do talk about book things that you're reading. So see how I work that in. So yeah, so totally cool if you don't want to read it alone, and I get it. Okay, back on track, on plan. So that was Black Classic, and thank you again to Bree from Locked Booktition for giving me that prompt to include in the readathon. I forgot to put this up, so I'll put the Storygraph Challenge link in there too. And next one, number 4, is End of Empire. This is from Roz at Scallydandling about the books. And the prompt is End of Empire. A book that is set in a place that was colonized at this time or written by a person from a place that was. And so we've got several books about India represented in the Storygraph Challenge, which is very exciting. And the prompt for the tag, sorry, this is my scratch paper that I'm using for being eco-conscious. So mercantilism, and I was going to pull up this definition and I forgot, but let me see if I can remember from like 7th grade. Mercantilism is a system where you have an internal market and an external market, and you use the external market as raw materials for your economy. So, for example, the triangle trade, right? This is like the worst heinous example. But also, every nation that had a colony in the 19th and 20th centuries used their colonies as resources for raw materials like metals and crops and workers in some cases. I'm thinking later. I'm not thinking the slave trade. But anyway, mercantilism is only possible if you dehumanize those other places from which you are taking those raw materials. And so I thought I would kind of try to chip away at this idea, because mercantilism seems like an old, outdated economic system, but really what it was is the rationalization for empire, and the way they did that through institutions was dehumanizing other people. Because if other countries, if other nations, if other geographical empires are not human like you, then hey, you can go and dig holes out of their earth, and hey, you can blow up their mountains, and hey, you can, I don't know, do all those things that are not allowed anymore, but still continue under a different name. Anyway, so the prompt for the tag is something from popular culture that's recent that shows us the dehumanizing legacy that is left over from empire. And I know I'm getting depressing on this, but just hold on. We're almost to the end of the tag. Okay, so that was my not very succinct definition. And what I have here are obviously keeping refugees in cages, doing homeless camp sweeps, because, you know, no one who lives in a home thinks that people that don't have a home are the same as them. No, that doesn't make sense. Okay, this is where I would press edit if I was editing this, but it's getting out of hand now on the live video. Let's start that one again. Homeless camp sweeps. If you don't understand what this is, let me start there. In places like Portland, where there is a big homeless population because there is no affordable housing and there are not enough social services for people who are houseless, the police will occasionally clean out a homeless camp, meaning a bunch of tents on the street that they will pick up and confiscate. And it's like, well, those are those people's homes. And instead of just taking away their shelter, you could give them someplace to be that is safe and sheltered. So anyway, that's dehumanizing in a way. And that's a big Portland thing, but what is the solution? I welcome that in the comments as well. And then the last one I had as an example was, if you've heard of the hashtag MMIWG, that stands for Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls. And so one of the big ways that Americans who came to this country allowed themselves the freedom to manifest destiny and clear across the country and become settlers was to dehumanize Indigenous folks and give them caricatures and stereotypes and say that they were evil and say that they were animals, and that meant that it was okay to kill them. And so that is still here because we have atrocious statistics about missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls because they are the first to be harmed in a lot of different situations. So those are just 3 examples where the dehumanizing legacy of empire and mercantilism trickles down to today. We could still see it, and we still need to work against it. Okay, so depressing part, I think that was the worst. Hopefully you're still with me on this tag. Shannon saying they just did a huge homeless sweep in the biggest city closest to me, Pensacola. I'd seen the camp before, and I was just so sad to hear what happened. Yeah. Yep. It's just like emergency shelter options or social services that are not police arriving to escalate the situation in many cases, at least here. So, or what's caught on video, I should say. Okay, so that's the empire prompt. The last prompt, so thank you, Roz of Scally Dandling, about the books. That was not her prompt, but that was her prompt for Storygraph. I hope this is making sense to anybody. Like I said, more nervous, more serious. I'm definitely asking for help if I'm saying things wrong. The last prompt is called Other, and it encourages people to read translations of books written or published in this period. And this is one I came up with just to sort of round out the 5 prompts for the readathon. And for this one, I thought it would be really cool to ask people to find a landmark near them that has had a name change or the name has been reverted to its original name after colonialism. So in the spirit of translation. And I looked around here. I know there's been some controversies about Mount Rainier. There is one that has already been done. So I looked up that news story, and so there's a word that people have used and it has become a derogatory term. I don't know if it was at the beginning, but apologies if this is offensive. I'll just say squaw as a term is considered derogatory now. So I read one article that said the S word. So I'll just call it the S word. And there were several mountains, monuments, places, rivers in the Willamette National Forest, which is near here in Portland, Oregon, that were named after this name. And the Indigenous folks that live nearby were concerned that that continued a dehumanizing legacy with the name on the map. And so in 2001, this article says 3 things were had their names changed. And the one that was the mountain got changed to Latiwi Mountain in Willamette National Forest. So can you find a landmark near you that has been changed or reverted to its original name, or the people who were originally on it? Because that is a good feeling to end on rather than the more depressing ones. But, you know, part of why we're attacking the first half of the 20th century is that so much went on, so much was broken about the world system, and new things were created. And yeah, so there's a lot of breaking and creating in this reading period and in this tag. So sorry, not sorry. Yeah, there we go. Anita saying one of those S-word mountains got changed in Canada too, I believe. Yeah, when I looked it up to see if I could get a pronunciation for Latiwi, I couldn't find one. But there were ones in Colorado. There was ones in Canada. There were articles all over about how things have been called this. There's also one more recent that was called Negro Ben Mountain. And they changed it to Ben Jonson Mountain because he's an early Black pioneer here, that instead of like calling it an old name that has also become derogatory, they named it for his whole name, which is more respectful. And yeah, so I thought that was great too. Barrett says, let me search, but I'm not hopeful in Deep Red, Missouri. Yeah. Melissa says, river that runs through my small city is slowly getting reverted to original Indigenous name. Not everyone has reverted, but more and more orgs and citizens have. Yeah. Very cool, right? So this is like the victory we could hope for, is that our language is resilient enough to absorb the people who are still part of the nation or living in the spaces within the nation. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Oh, and I missed one of the things I was going to put in here. So after Empire, which was the most depressing one, check out my historical novels. That was going to be the pick-me-up because my historical fiction deals with empire and colonization across the world. So that was just my little dip into that. Okay, so that's the 5 prompts: war, sex, Black classic, empire, and other. And then the last thing you have to do is tag 5 people. But I'm not tagging 5 people. I'm tagging everyone who is participating in the readathon, even if it's only 1 book. So who is that? The people who are on the sign-up sheet who I can call out: Kira the Scrivener, Ben Pick at Running to Write, Chrissy at the Return Cart, Melissa at Fully Booked, Shannon at Essie Houston, Rachel at RK Stumbling Bear, Katya at With Katya Now, which is different, Beth Ann at Beth Ann Berniga Sokolar, Lana at Lana Ex Libris, who also participated last year, which is fun, Jenna O'Malley, Barrett Laurie, Jim's Books, Reading, and Stuff. And then on Storygraph, we have people who have handles, so I'm not sure, but there's 20 people there, which is pretty exciting. And Loretta Webb, I know, is one. Rosie Cockshut is another. Gemma Books, who's in the chat. It's Gemma. Gina Stanier has definitely talked about it, and she's on the playlist already. Phantom James, Rachel 45, Readeropolis, Roseanne the Witchy Reader, Sarapina, and Karen Naj, and some other names that sort of don't make sense to say out loud. So just say thank you for participating. You're tagged on BookTube if you have time in May. I encourage everyone to try to get this tag done in May, just so that it can be like part of everyone's discussion about their reads. And Shelley Swearingen is participating, but isn't on either of those places. So eventually I think I'll see her name somewhere, but she's very excited. And she has a couple of deep dive authors that she is intending to break into, which is also cool. So yeah, I'm going to pop that playlist in the chat and encourage people to sign up on that sheet so that I know when you're talking about stuff. I'm subscribed to over 500 channels, so the likelihood is that I am subscribed to you. But if in case I am not, if you put your name there, that helps me find when you're talking about May of the Moderns, because whenever I search May of the Moderns, it keeps turning up Moderna information, which is not what I want. So help me out here, throw me a bone. Shannon says, in Pensacola, a section of town once known as the Blocks is now the Belmont de Villiers neighborhood. Interesting. It was historically the center of the African American community after the Jim Crow laws took effect. Pensacola. Pensacola's in the Panhandle, is that correct? I'm wondering if it's one of the imagined or fictionalized cities in Their Eyes Were Watching God, because that happens in Florida and the Panhandle. So that makes me curious, because there was definitely like a ghetto section of the town that she was describing that was for African American folks in that time. Yeah, interesting. I wonder. If you've read that book, let me know if you know if there's a relation. That'd be pretty cool. So all those people I tagged who are participating, I'd love to see your videos in the playlist. So that's where you can go to find them. What else? Did I cover everything? Let's see. 5 prompts, 5 questions. Like, comment, subscribe. Thank you to all the people who contributed prompts. The Buddy Read / solo sign up sheet, the Storygraph challenge, the playlist. Check out my novels, of course. And then calling out everybody that I had names for who is participating. Very exciting. So I am, once again, nervous but excited, and definitely looking forward to people telling me they agree or disagree with my answers and seeing people do this tag. I'll give it its own playlist as well. So there we go. Did I make it through without even sipping from my Irish breakfast? Yes, I did. Brenda just posted her TBR. Yay! Okay, well, you're definitely on my feed, so I will get to it later today. Haven't read the book. Oh, okay. You should definitely read Their Eyes Were Watching God. Oh, it's a good one. Someone's watching it, reading it. Is that Gemma? I don't know. Maybe Gemma would be a good buddy reader. If she's the one that was reading it, but I can't remember. Someone had it in their video. But yeah. So that is our Tuesday tag for today, original tag for the readathon. And yeah, a lot of stuff to cover. And this is my overflow list. So like my 10 book list is over there. This is my overflow May of the Moderns list. So you know I'm going to be reading a lot in May, and I hope you can join me. So thanks everyone for watching, and I will see you guys again soon, and look forward to hearing from you.